What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we are at Sioux Falls Regional Airport for the 28th airport update for the month of June 2022. Pretty excited about this airport update. There's a lot to talk about, so without further ado, let's go ahead and hop in. Starting off here at gate number 1 with quite the bang here. We have an American Airbus A321. The exact aircraft that was used had the IAE engines with the sharklets, which I don't have a model of right now. Waiting for perhaps NG to do another release of that, because I know they did one back in 2020, I think, into 2021, but I was not able to get that model. So hopefully they do one at some point, so that if we get another one of these, I can accurately represent it. So all I have is my CFM A321 with fence-tip winglets, and this is actually for the Midwest Honor Flight. These flights are from Wednesday, June 1st, so this Midwest Honor Flight operated on that day. So this aircraft arrived in from Washington Reagan on that return flight from the mission, arrived in as Flight 9751 at 9:14 p.m., a little bit behind a 9 p.m. scheduled arrival, so 14-minute delay for this aircraft. Pretty nice to see this kind of stuff happening around here. I feel like it's a really great way to honor the veterans that served. Jumping down to gate number 3, we have a larger Delta mainline aircraft in this update, an Airbus A320. This aircraft arrived in on a service from Minneapolis, Flight 699 at 9:11 p.m., delayed from an 8:50 p.m. scheduled arrival, a 21-minute delay for this aircraft. So yeah, our second Minneapolis flight in the evening, looks like that was operated on an A320 for a little while, but as of right now, it did get downgraded to an A319, but now looks like on the weekends it is operated by an Embraer 175. Actually, no, it looks like that'd be the continuing trend. So an Embraer 175 with enhanced winglets. So Gemini jets, please do a model of that now that we're actually getting those things. They always seem to change up the aircraft every day, so... But I would like to have one whenever those show up here at Sioux Falls. So please, Gemini jets, do a model of it, or perhaps make it while the big convention in Chicago is taking place. I don't know. Just do something. There's a lot of collectors that are definitely waiting for it, myself included. I know I've said it countless times in my videos, but if it's not made, I'm going to keep saying that I want it made until it's done. So I'll try not to go too overboard on it, but that's just kind of how I feel right now with that. So yeah, our A319 stuff, pretty much the only Delta mainline we get from Minneapolis, and that second flight now down to an Embraer 175 operated by SkyWest, which I check, yep, that is SkyWest indeed. Operating at gate number 2 for Sunday, June 5th, so hopefully one of those does get made. At gate number 4 is our other Delta mainline flight, this Airbus A319, arriving in on a service from Minneapolis, Flight 1258, at 7:04 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 7:06 p.m. arrival. And this is the flight that did get swapped down to an Embraer 175. Our other flight from 9 o'clock is just kind of vanished. Usually kind of gets swapped around around close to midnight and about 9 o'clock, so it looks like that got switched back to like an 11:50 p.m. flight, now operated on a A319. And I just noticed our Atlanta stuff on an A320 here, so that's really interesting. For tomorrow, June 6th, it is on an Airbus A320 coming in from Atlanta, arriving in at 10:44 p.m., so that'll be very interesting to see if that sticks around for a bit longer than normal. Work our way around the north side of the terminal, and we'll get to one last aircraft here after this one. But sitting here at gate number 7, we have this United Express CRJ-200 in the Evo Blue livery. This aircraft arrived in on a service from Denver, operated by SkyWest, Flight 5918, at 12:26 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 12:47 p.m. arrival. At gate number 5, we have this American Eagle Embraer 145. This aircraft arrived in on a service from Chicago O'Hare, Flight 3533, at 12:06 p.m., a little bit behind a 12:03 p.m. scheduled arrival. That is a 3-minute delay for this aircraft. Nice to see these Embraer 145s come back. However, we have lost our CRJ 700 stuff from SkyWest for American Eagle, so it's kind of the trade-off that we have to deal with here. But hopefully those make a return at some point. I do like that nice little variety coming into Sioux Falls every now and then. That's all the aircraft we have here at the terminal. We got a handful more wandering around. No cargo aircraft in this update once again, as it's pretty much the same stuff. I don't want to show that too much because it gets a bit too repetitive. I might bring it back in maybe a month or two, but we'll see what happens with that. Taxiing out of gate number 1, we have this Allegiant Airbus A320. This aircraft's going to be heading out to Austin, Texas, Flight 2783. It departed at 10:42 a.m. ahead of a scheduled 10:45 a.m. departure time. A nice 3-minute head start for the folks heading down to Austin. Taxiing out of the terminal, this aircraft originated from Gate 4. We have the Delta Connection CRJ-900. This aircraft's going to be heading out to Minneapolis, operating on Flight 4097 for SkyWest. Departed at 1:50 p.m. behind a 1:30 p.m. scheduled departure time, a 20-minute delay for this aircraft. And to cap off this section of the airport update, yes, we'll have a second part here for this airport update. I'll discuss more about that here in just a moment. We have this American Eagle CRJ-900. This aircraft arrived in from McAllen, Texas. So this leads me to believe that this is some type of repositioning flight for aircraft equipment. Perhaps crew, maybe, I don't know. We usually get these every once in a while. They're usually on like United Express. Not usually from American Eagle, so this is kind of one of those rare instances where we have an aircraft come in, regular aircraft for Sioux Falls, but it arrives in from a bit of an unusual destination, if you will. So this arrived in at 10:35 p.m., a bit behind a 10:30 p.m. scheduled departure time, a 5-minute delay for this aircraft, but it doesn't really matter too much as it doesn't have any passengers on board as far as I know. And that'll do it for this part of the update. We still got one more part to cover, and that is going to be taking a look at all the diversions from the storms that took place now a little over a week ago. So I know I've kind of been milking out that storm for content, but I mean, considering that this is my hometown airport and we were impacted by the storms directly, I figured I would take a look at some diversions that came to Sioux Falls from Minneapolis. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop in. And welcome to the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. Chaos mode has been activated as we have a good multitude of diversions that came in from Minneapolis. All these flights are a little bit earlier in the schedule. This is from the night of Monday, May 30th, after we had that big round of storms come in. I explained more about it in last week's Des Moines Airport update, so if you want a little more information on that, you can go check out that video, as I went into a little more detail about how the storm evolved and going from Sunday night into Monday morning and all throughout Monday. It was a multiple rounds of storms that ended up impacting Sioux Falls. But after the main round of storms hit Sioux Falls during midday, they moved into Minnesota throughout the afternoon and evening. And eventually by about 7 to 8 o'clock, a little bit later, these storms did reach Minneapolis, and it prompted a multitude of diversions to be sent out everywhere, including a good handful to Sioux Falls. This is about a total of 6 diversions. We have a total of 2 A321s, 1 Embraer 175, 2 CRJ-900s, and we have an A319 here as well. And also we got some regularly scheduled aircraft that are just kind of moving in and around, trying to navigate the chaos here, because there's a lot of aircraft here. So we'll check out all the regularly scheduled flights, and then we'll move into the diversions. But I'll pull up here a quick screen recording I did on Flight Radar 24, the playback. I have a filter to show only inbound flights to both Minneapolis and Sioux Falls, so you can get a really good idea of how the flights are coming in and out. So you can see the big group of planes coming in from the east, and they're moving all the way down to the south, around the big round of storms that was moving into Minneapolis, and eventually that big group, most of the big group, ends up diverting to Sioux Falls, with a couple trying to continue holding, trying to circle for a little bit longer to see if they can get into Minneapolis without needing to divert. Some of them are able to, and others are forced to divert to other airports, but a good chunk of that group ended up diverting to Sioux Falls. And after which you can kind of see all the flights eventually start making their way back up to Minneapolis once the storms move out and they're given the all clear to head to their intended destination. So, let's go ahead and start off with our regularly scheduled stuff. We'll move on down over here. Sorry about the angle. I know it's a little bit high, but that's just how it is here. Starting off here at gate number 5, we have this American Eagle CRJ-700, or at least this aircraft will be heading to gate number 5. It is currently making its way in. This aircraft arrived in on a service from Chicago O'Hare, flight 3057, arrived in at 9:15 p.m., delayed from an 8:43 p.m. scheduled arrival. That is a 32-minute delay for this aircraft. Sitting at Gate 7A, we had this United Express Embraer 175. This aircraft arrived in on a service from Denver, operated by SkyWest, flight 5316, at 8:32 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 8:45 p.m. arrival. Now, keep in mind, that's the only ahead of scheduled arrival time aircraft that we have in this update, and we'll only have one ahead of scheduled departure time aircraft in this update as well. So that is all the regularly scheduled stuff that's on the ground. So we got a good number of diversions. Like I said, we have 6 in total to take a look at. So let's go ahead and jump in. This does give me very big flashbacks to June of 2019 when we had a huge round of diversions coming after some big storms moved into Minneapolis. They did not affect us that time, but the biggest diversion we got out of that was a 757-300, which I thought was pretty cool. That aircraft, if I recall correctly from memory, it did not depart until like midnight, so it was a really long wait there. We stayed there for probably about 2.5 hours just waiting for stuff to go. We did see some diversions depart, but the 753, the big main event, if you will, did not get going, so that was a little bit disappointing. But it was still cool to see all the diversions there nonetheless, and I even did get a picture of the 757-300. And yes, obviously, as you can tell, since I'm doing this, I did not get to go see all these diversions because we were dealing with the storms, trying to get everything all set up for the night, as we were expecting to not have power Monday night, but we did get it back pretty quickly, so after all the storms moved in. But right here at gate number 3, we have this Delta Airbus A321. This aircraft arrived in from Tampa, it's flight 2183, and it would not depart until about 10:04 p.m., so scheduled to depart at about 9 p.m., so a 64-minute delay for this aircraft in terms of its departure time, so a little bit unfortunate for those guys, but that is to be expected with these diversions, as they are delayed quite significantly as they wait for the storms to move out and they get clearance from their company to head back. Here you can see the shenanigans continue as both of the gate aprons at gate 7 are occupied. I put the jet bridge at 7A because I figured a regularly scheduled passenger flight would get a little more priority over who gets the jet bridge first, and plus I think this aircraft arrived there first anyway. I'm not sure how that's all set up, so that's just kind of how I have it set up here for this update. But at gate number 7, we have this Delta A319. This is at the 7B apron. This aircraft arrived in from Newark. It was supposed to depart at 9 p.m., but it did not get going until 9:29 p.m. So a quick 29-minute delay for this aircraft. Probably one of the better delays that I've seen for diversions, but there are a couple of better ones here. I said there was one on time or ahead of scheduled departure time. I found out there's actually 2 of them, so we'll get to those here pretty quickly. At gate number 2, we had this Delta Connection Embraer 175 being substituted for an Embraer 170. This aircraft arrived in from Pittsburgh, operated by SkyWest on flight 3535. Was supposed to depart at 10:47 p.m., but it did depart instead at 10:57 p.m., so only a 10-minute delay, so that's the best delay out of this entire update thus far. And I did say that we were only supposed to have 2 regularly scheduled flights, but I forgot about a third. You can see it right here with this Delta Airbus A320. Now, the reason why I have it pushing back is because of another diversion that was actually occupying this gate. So I'm not sure if they had this aircraft pushed back and then they kind of let it go elsewhere. I don't think they would have been able to send it to Minneapolis because of the storms, so I think they would have had to let it park somewhere, possibly on the hard stand or somewhere else. I don't know where they would have had that set up. But here at gate number 4, this Delta A320, which arrived in from Minneapolis, arrived in at 8:04 p.m., delayed from a 7:06 p.m. scheduled arrival time. This aircraft is being pushed back and is going to likely hold somewhere, wait for a good clearance, so that they can head up to Minneapolis as intended. Pair of CRJ900s for this update. We got a couple of diversions here. Now, it doesn't really matter which one I have is marked as which, so I'll just go ahead and do the first one back here. My custom CRJ900, which unfortunately I still have not completed because I've gotten used to using my other CRJ900, which you can see at the bottom of your screen, slightly out of focus. This aircraft arrived in from Cleveland, flight 3737, operated by SkyWest. Supposed to depart at 9:28 p.m., but it departed at 9:37 p.m., so only a 9-minute delay for this aircraft. We're getting very close to having an ahead of scheduled departure time, and in fact, as I further examined the schedule, I found out that none of them actually departed ahead of schedule, so sorry about the confusion there on that, but we do have some pretty close to ahead of scheduled departure times, in this case 10 minutes and 9 minutes for the last 2 diversions thus far. Here's the other CRJ900. This aircraft arrived in from Washington Dulles, flight 4031, also a SkyWest-operated flight. Supposed to depart at 9:32 p.m., but it did not depart until 9:50 p.m., so an 18-minute delay for this aircraft. Taxiing into gate number 4, where that Delta A320 we saw earlier is going to be pushing back and will be going elsewhere so that this aircraft can occupy this gate. We do have this Delta A321 with the thank you livery. Now, this is not the exact aircraft that was used. I'm only putting it here because there were 2 A321s that diverted to Sioux Falls, and I do have 2 of them. Just one of them is a special livery, so I'll have to excuse that for now. But the exact aircraft that was on this flight would be 342 Delta November. That's a regular A321 as to be expected. This aircraft arrived in from Fort Myers on flight 998. Was supposed to depart at 10:08 p.m., but it did not get going until 10:43 p.m., so kind of a late departure for those guys. So that is, I'm thinking 35 minutes if my math is correct on that. And that'll do it for this update. So very busy 2-parter Sioux Falls Regional Airport update with some normal stuff at the first part, and then we have chaos at the second part. So kind of clashing between normality and some anarchy, or not really anarchy, but just kind of chaos in a way with all these diversions. I'm sure it's not necessarily like chaos, it's more like organized chaos, if you will, since they always have to keep everything as organized as possible and all that, but, I mean, it's still unexpected to have this many Delta aircraft at such a small regional airport, so I'll just go ahead and use the term organized chaos. I think that's a good way to describe this kind of stuff here for diversions at an airport. So yeah, that will do it for this update. A lot of stuff coming up as to be expected. If you saw my Instagram post for the June 2022 calendar, I did hint at an event that was coming up that I'll be going to. So again, more information on that is still forthcoming. I'll have that in a video when it gets much closer to that event, so that way I can work out all the final details and some little fine stuff as well. So that way it's all set and ready to go. With that being said, that is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.